A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to my channel once again. So today, it's September 28th, 2020. And you know what? I feel like it's fair for me to say that 5.5 months have passed since the last time I ever did any unofficial podiatry related stuff. But you know what? I suppose it's time that I go ahead and get on back into it because, after all, there's really a lot that I do in fact have to talk about. And this subject in particular is mainly going to be about the types of shoes I own. Yes, so that's one thing that you might consider me to talk about here. But I feel like that this just might be the core of what this, topic is probably going to be. I'll mainly be talking about the different types of insoles that are manufactured, specifically for natural footgear related products out there. Like this, for example. This is the Lems Primal Model 2, to be specific, because the Model 1 has probably been discontinued at some point, so now this is the Mark 2. And in all honesties, I've had these since January. I haven't really talked too much about them since I got them here in Unofficial Podiatry. And come to think of it, I don't even know if Unofficial Podiatry should in fact be its own series. But it is still its own playlist compiled with different vlogs talking about different things about footwear and, the human foot in general. I like studying podiatry. Can you blame me? Well, anyways, of course I have these Lems Primals fitted with the Hickeys laces. Yeah, I'll probably talk more about these things in their own sort of video some other time, maybe next month, but I will say for sure that, the kind of insoles that they have, these have never been replaced since I first picked these up back in January, but of course, what you can tell already is that, it's kind of rotten. There's a lot of wear on these, and, it's sort of deformed in shape. Specifically because, this kind of insole is pretty much marked by shoe size to measure my own foot in general. And my own foot size is usually dedicated from wearing size 10 to size 12.5, depending on the brand that the shoes come from. And these Lems, per se, the website has recently been taking a toll on using more American sizes rather than just sticking back to EU sizes like it had been before then. But what I can say for sure about the Primal 2s, for example, is that, on the tongue it basically just says size 12 in American and 13.5 for that. Okay. Unisex in brown, made in China. The tongue is not incredibly detailed, but of course the tag underneath it is small enough that, it only puts out the necessary parts to it. Though I will admit that only some pairs of shoes that I have insoles and others do not. Such as my Vibrams, for example. If you don't remember these back in April when I last talked about Unofficial Podiatry as a whole, then let me clarify for you. These were the Trek Ascent non-insulated variants that I've talked about in an Unofficial Podiatry vlog that I uploaded back in April, where I've compared these Vibrams to a different model of Vibrams from way back in the day. And what I can say for sure is that, unlike most other pairs of shoes, aside from the different design with the 5-finger variant, as well as the hook and lace sort of closure, Vibrams, of course, they have their own insoles built into them. And these are non-interchangeable. I suppose it's really efficient for that case because, after all, not every type of shoe insole is meant to last forever. And in the case of, the Lems Primal 2s, because of the cheap quality build and construction of these, that probably does explain why these are kind of seeing better days. So that's kind of one way you could put at it, but it's also because of how much they cost on the official website. Only $5.99 for a pair of insoles. That's pretty darn cheap. I mean, it's even cheaper than the majority of other insoles that I've seen locally, like Dr. Scholl's or any of those weird orthotics that you don't even need, by the way. But I will say as a whole that, well, it's a pretty good idea, but the fact is that cheap products, they're not meant to last long. So I suppose that justifies the sort of process where you go spend much less money on a different product and it doesn't last for too long. Or there's the idea of spending a lot of money on something that can last for a while. I suppose those two ways, depending on who you are in general, it might work for you, but the budget that you might spend monthly on something like this, well, for a monthly budget like mine, in terms of insoles, let alone 8 to 9 months that I've had with these insoles as a whole, I mean, I can say for sure that maybe within a couple months or so, they might need replacement at some point, but for the time being, they're still holding up gratefully. And I will say for sure that, well, not every pair of shoes I have, they're meant to last forever. Not every single one of them are. But considering how long my Lems have lasted, even the outsole still looks like it's going to hold up for a while. So that's a good sign right there, right? Well, anyways, in conclusion, insoles, whether or not they're expensive or cheap, or otherwise, I will specify the fact that any kind of shoe that I got, whether or not they're meant to be in the same kind of design, or if they're different. Insoles, of course, they're insoles. They're meant to be of an extra protection and extra cushioning in case you're not comfortable walking around or running around or anything else of any sorts. I will say though that, well, because of how long these cheap insoles have lasted in the Lems and the fact that, well, the Vibrams are being kind of efficient by not having insoles at all, so you don't have to waste extra money on them, I suppose that, well, the system works so many different ways, but for the most part, it can work only two ways, especially if you want to keep replacing them on a monthly or even yearly basis. But all in all, shoes are shoes. You can determine whatever kind of insole you like to have, depending on the brand that you know about or who you trust to make them for you. Well, anyways, I probably should reiterate though, Unofficial Podiatry may have taken quite a while just to come back here onto YouTube, but I might as well say, this could probably be a monthly thing, just like milestone challenges. I used to have a lot of commodity within both of these things, but milestone challenges and Unofficial Podiatry, because there isn't too many ideas that I got left, that's why I'm going to be a little more constructive and try to have one of each come out every month. So yeah, that's right. You'll be seeing more Unofficial Podiatry at least once a month from this point going forward. Maybe not more than once, but certainly not at all every month. So yeah, once a month for that. And for milestone challenges, well, I guess it all depends. I have done it up to 3 of them a month, so I'm going to see where that goes from here on out. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.